So this is a meeting of the Hyde Park Central School District on October 25th, 2018. Can I have a motion to go into executive session to discuss confidential matters pertaining to labor relations and a personnel investigation?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
3 years and 11 months.
We're now in executive session. Okay, we'll begin public session. Can I have everyone stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And wouldn't that be nice? Justice for all.
Okay, for anyone if you noticed, there was an agenda change that 11.9, we've separated out. 11.9 is to rescind the agreement, and 11.10 will be the new wording of the agreement. Can I have an agenda modification, motion to pull section D from 10.5 in the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? The discussion is because this section is already, it's in the new content, so we don't need to vote on it twice. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. I'm ready. Motion. Can I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Upcoming events.
We missed a big one, so I gotta...
There will be no school for on Tuesday, November 6th. It will be Teacher Training Day. And the next Board of Ed meeting will be at Ralph R. Smith on November 8th.
Yeah, sorry, I missed one. Big news. The fall drama, Our Town, is the week end of November 2nd and 3rd. And I don't have it in front of me. We have tons of information out there on Twitter, Facebook, and on our website. But there will be 2 matinee performances this year.
There'll be Friday at 7 p.m. and a matinee on Saturday. I'm not sure what
I think it was 3.
there's just 2.
It's just 2? Okay. But anyway, all the information is out there, so please come out to our fall drama of Our Town. The students have been working diligently on it. It is always delightful. I think you'll see, if you're familiar with the play Our Town, the narrator plays a key role, and I think you'll be pleasantly surprised by a little variation on the narrator of Our Town this year.
Okay, we're on to 6.1, Pride. Petra?
Yep, sorry. There you go.
The boys soccer team fundraised over $900 for the Sparrow's Nest organization in honor of their coach's mother, who passed away, Darlene Calcagney. She passed away last year. Today was Mahal's for cross country, and the men's and women's winners are both from FDR, Paul Sanford and Sarah Trainer. And just an update on what's going on in FDR. The seniors are finalizing college applications and getting all that in. And a lot of us just took a visit to Dutchess to visit and just to see, what was going on there. And instant admissions was the other day, so a lot of kids did that at FDR. And that's it.
Isn't there a training on November 6th or 8th? When is Craze, or is that
I believe that's coming up.
Okay.
October 26th, but I'll double check that.
Yeah,
Now I'm
please do,
telling
because that
everyone.
is open to the public. That's a citizen's response, I don't know what, I can't remember what craze. It's
Active shooter.
an active, active shooter training for citizens. It's open to the
Yeah,
public?
sorry, that's November 26th, so
November
there's plenty of time
26th?
to get the word out at 6 o'clock at Haviland.
Okay,
And it's open to the public and staff.
great. I thought there was something
And
November 6th.
I just wanted to add a little bit to the pride that Patrick mentioned about College Application Week. It was really amazing. The guidance counselors collaborate. They had 4 different colleges coming in, and all the lunch periods were open all week, continue to be open for students to come down and actually get support and help with the applications, and then representatives from the colleges are there, too, to meet with students. So it's really impressive. And then FAFSA night's coming up.
We're back on Pride still?
Yep.
Yeah, we had a lot of Pride, so go for it. Lots of people were at lots of things, so.
I'd like to just give an attaboy to the performance last night at the FDR High School of the, what is the actual terminology, the fall
Harvest Pops.
Harvest Park. Absolutely fantastic presentation by all of the groups that presented there, but the final performance by the symphonic orchestra, accompanied by the pipe organ, was just absolutely amazing. They did a mesh of parts of the songs from Phantom of the Opera, and it was just outstanding. I mean, if you closed your eyes and listened, you would think you could be in any symphonic orchestra anywhere in the country. I mean, they were that good. I thought back of 40 years ago when I first attended my first musical performances at Ralph R. Smith when my kids were taking drums and, the other things like that. It's just absolutely amazing. And the truth of it's amazing what kids can accomplish when you let them, when you don't tell them what it is they can't do, because these kids were just absolutely outstanding. And I see we've got something on the board today, approve a trip for one of our students down to Florida, is it, to perform in a nationwide chorus. Unbelievable.
As long as we're pointing out good performance, I personally thought the wind ensemble selections were performed beautifully.
They were.
Really liked them. So I
Was that her
I wasn't going
first
to single anybody out, but since you already did, I'll just pipe in. Excellent show. It was, and it was well attended as well.
It was. We haven't solved the issue of parents getting up and leaving after their students perform. I can understand those with grammar school
it's tough.
kids, because it does go a little late, but still.
Tough, yeah.
They missed out.
We had on October 17th, we had Ray McNulty, an national and international speaker. This was co-hosted by Red Hook and Hyde Park. We had excellent turnout for that event, and the feedback that we've received so far on Ray McNulty was overwhelmingly positive. He had a tremendous message about the future of education and the impact it may have, and so we were pleased to co-host with Red Hook. The superintendent of Red Hook joked that when their auditorium was built, they'd co-host the next event. So thank you for everyone who attended. I had the opportunity to see Thomas Grimes. I opted to go to the student version because I have to observe principles at work. But Thomas Grimes came and spoke I sat through the 6th and 7th grade session, or some of the 7th grade, but all of the 6th grade, on internet safety. And it is a very powerful message geared toward middle school students, and I have never seen middle school students so quiet and riveted for such an extended period of time. So that's how you know his message was appropriate for them. The auditorium was full of middle school students, and they he had their full attention for a long time. It was more than a period because we had to wait for the bells to ring a couple times, so that was a collaborative effort between Haviland Middle School and the PTA. Thomas Grimes was there 4 years ago, so none of the students currently in Haviland had seen him before.
Any other pride?
I want to say something about Monday. It was Superintendent's Conference Day, and I got to go to all the buildings and see the work that teachers were doing on critical thinking and collaborating together. And some of the work that came out of that, like I saw some of it, and now where people are sharing, it's really outstanding. So now we've had, this is our third opportunity to have teachers, get to do their own work with each other with critical thinking, and it's just outstanding work.
On to 6.2, School Board Recognition Week.
All right, I'm gonna speak for a minute here. I was told not to say, one year somebody said, don't say too much because then we'll never have anybody volunteer for the board because it sounds like a lot of work. Now, first of all, I want to bring your attention to a couple of things that you have in front of you. One is a sweet box of cookies that some of you have in front of you that Jay made, our district clerk, and they are in the shape of pencils. So that was just amazing, creative, and real heart, I'm going to embarrass the heck out of her, and real heartfelt love put into those cookies and the design and, making it meaningful.
And some people don't have them because they ate them already.
True.
And then it was Jay who came and said, we always do something for Board Appreciation Week. And she said, wouldn't it be nice if the board members got something from the students? And so thank you, Jay. We took that idea, we gave it to our Fine and Performing Arts Director, Melinda DeMaio. And so you were all grouped into different elementary schools. And so each of you has homemade board member appreciation gifts from our students. And so each elementary school came up with their own plan on how they wanted to do it. So a couple of you, I'll hold this one up. I think 2 people got it in the form. So Dan and who's got that one? Now Patrick can open these up later. So they received posters filled with artwork of thanks. Then, I don't know, Mike, you want to open that kind of up just to show how it operates? And then... It's an accordion.
Wow.
Oh, very nice.
Nice.
Violet Avenue, Dan and Doug are opening, and you can see the little clock tower. And then there's one other where it's a box of personalized cards. Harry and someone, and Denise must have that too. So you've all,
Nice.
thank you, that's on the back. So what came as an idea from Jay certainly has a lot more meaning, I hope, for you than anything I can say other than, I know for Jay and I, as well as the rest of the team here, it's an absolute pleasure working with you. I won't talk about the tons of homework you do, so we don't scare you. No, this is a board that is productive, functioning, respectful, enjoyable to work with, keeps the direction moving forward, and you've all accomplished a great deal. So thank you. And then last but not least, you each have in front of you, this is our very first swag because normally we do give you a gift. I think the cards and stuff from the kids is better, but this is the first swag with our logo on it, our 4Cs logo. Just to remind everyone, the logo was designed by an FDR student. Originally, she attended Violet Avenue in her elementary years, but this is an FDR student design. That is our permanent logo. She was in the CTI graphic design course when she did this. I had to fill out a work order. It was just as if I was working with a professional graphic designer. So this is the first time this is printed as a swag item versus a print item. So you guys got the first.
Collectible.
Collector's item. So
It'll be worth money.
thank you, Jay. Thank you, board members.
And thank you, students, for these. These are really great. So, 7.1, Superintendent's Report.
I have nothing other than the pride and the presentations, and I'm good.
Okay, we're on to 7.2, Digital School Menu Demonstration. Lauren?
Thank you for having me here tonight. We have a new digital menu in our food service department that we have been launching since the beginning of school year. I was able to present it to all the admins in the district a few weeks ago, and we thought it was a great idea to come and show you how it works. So the software that we're working with is Meal Viewer. So it's a web-based program, but there's also an app both for iOS and Android that you can download. And they're very similar in the way that they work. So we'll be using the web-based program tonight for the demonstration, and the application works almost identical. It's just obviously scaled down one page for the little phone. So once you log into mealviewer.com, this is the screen that comes up, and you would go and log in. And this is for any parent or student, whether they have an account or they don't have an account already existing, which is very simple to make, and I will show that as we go through. So you would log in as a parent or a student. That other side is where I log in and do all the behind-the-scenes work. So this is the main screen, and as I was saying, if you wanted to create an account, it's very simple to create a parent or student account. You just follow through the prompts here to create an account, which has some benefits once I start explaining all the functions of the program. If you already have an account, this is where you would log in. We're just going to type in Hyde Park and continue. I guess the caps lock was on there. As you can see, all of our menus for the school district come up. All of our elementary schools share a menu. We have FDR, Haviland Middle School. We also serve St. Peter's School and our UPK programs. So we will select the high school menu for demonstration purposes. This is another last chance. Would you like to create a profile? And this would be the opportunity. It is, of course, a free profile. There's no charge to use this program for any parent or student. So we're just going to exit out of that. Once you are into the menu, we'll do a brief overview of how to navigate through the page. Our breakfast and lunch menus are right here on the top to toggle between, as well as the months here going back to September and going forward to November, which isn't there yet, but it will be in the next few days. So we will use October's menu to go through everything here. We'll start over here with the info menu. This is an announcement section. So since the beginning of school, we've had to use some abbreviations on our menu, being that there's only so many characters I have now with this new program. So we've abbreviated some of our breakfast items, bacon, egg, and cheese, BEC. So anything that might be confusing, I would put over here in this section so parents and students would be able to see it. It's also in the description underneath the item on the menu day. I'm going to skip this nutrition calculator until we get further into the menu items, and I'll review that. We have a link to My School Bucks. This is our online payment system where parents can make payments. They can set up automatic payments. They can set up alerts for low balances. They can view students' transactions and just see what's going on. It's a great online tool. It is, again, a free program for parents to make accounts. It is a third-party software, so they do charge a transaction fee for payments if parents choose to pay through that source. We added a few district links underneath here. We have a direct link that brings you to our food service website page right on hpcsd.org. I put a direct link to our meal price benefit application just for ease of searching. And then this is something new that we've started this year, our Harvest of the Month. We'll click on that because that's fun to show you. Just last Thursday on the 18th, we served fresh Brussels sprouts with a maple glaze, and this was the newsletter that we put together to just get some facts out there about how beneficial a Brussels sprout may be in your diet. There's some good shopping tips on what to look for when you're buying them, some healthy serving ideas. This is the recipe that we served in school last Thursday, and of course some fun facts about what a Brussels sprout might have done. So we've been having some really great feedback. We offer a taste test to all students whether they buy school lunch or not. We actually have our one of our employees go out into the cafeteria with little sample cups to entice students who maybe even have never seen a fresh Brussels sprout before to give it a try. So happens to be one of my favorites. We also have the prices down here on the menu, and that will be corresponding with whatever menu you're viewing. So if you're on the elementary menu, the elementary prices will be there. So getting into the real meat of this program will be the nutritional part of what displays when you click on a menu item. So there's a couple of fun features. When you create an account, it gives you the ability to favorite an item. And as you can see, as I clicked on the yellow star, it comes over here and puts a yellow star next to the meal every time it's on the menu. So that might be helpful with parents, especially those in the younger grades who might want to remember, did they like that or did they not like that? So now they've got a marker to be able to mark that. And this is probably my favorite function, probably because I wish I was young enough to use some of these terms, but there's a rating system for each menu item with some pretty funny sayings that might appeal to some of the students, but it will be great when this function starts to be used because I'll be able to see what items are favored by our students and how they feel about them, so I can amend the menu to their taste. So once you click on the item, it also comes up with all of our nutritional information. All of this information is entered by me from the actual nutrition facts, so it's valid, it's true, it's not just coming somewhere from the internet, it's the actual items that we're serving. And then it also notes we have 8 major allergens that we're flagging. So under each item, the allergens are noted here in the bottom. But there's also, furthermore, you can click over here on this allergens tab, and if you have, this is breakfast, let's say you have an egg sensitivity, you can click on the eggs and it will actually cross off everything that contains that item. And this is another feature where if you create a profile, you'd be able to keep your allergens selected, so it would be ongoing. The last feature that I would like to, well, maybe not the last, because we're going to go back and show you that nutrition calculator. I presented this to our team of nurses just last week, and this was really exciting for them. It's the nutrition calculator, so it simplifies their job. We used to give them a book of hundreds and hundreds of pages where they would have to filter through to get this information for any student. They may be monitoring their carbohydrate intake or whatever it might be for dietary reasons. So now they'll be able to select the day and the meal, and the menu and the portions will already be up loaded into that, and they'll be able to select exactly what a student consumed that day, but not just what they consumed, but how much of it they consumed. And they'll be able to get all of that information fairly quickly, which is really beneficial to the nurses, to parents, to even some of our older students who might be managing this on their own. And then the last feature that I will show you is there is a print feature on the menu, which gives everybody the opportunities to print with their allergens or their favorites. They can, select so that they print it out if they like it. They can increase the font size, so it's really big. They can print it by the week or by the month, so it's really customizable. We're hoping that everybody will be really satisfied with how they can view our menu now. Is there any questions on Meal Viewer?
So, do I understand, is this something where the parents can go in to pay for lunches as well?
That would be, we already have that in existence. That's My
Right.
School Bucks, and
Right.
that's been, we even had a different system before I arrived. When I arrived pretty shortly after, within a few months, we changed our whole point of sale system which also updated our online payment system. It used to be My Payments Plus, which worked very similarly. Now it's My School Bucks, and that's the system where they can create a free account to monitor transactions, make payments, set up alerts for payments, set up automatic payments if they know they're a frequent buyer, and they can also view a rolling 30 days of transactions of the
So
students.
there's no plan to remove that? And
No, that will
keep
stay.
that in place? And this will just
Absolutely.
be- Okay.
That's a great tool to our district and to our parents.
Any other questions?
Okay.
Thank you, Lauren.
Thank you so much.
Next is 7.3, Assessment Report from Assistant Superintendent Aviva.
Deputy, yeah, new title, deputy.
It's a little one.
Hard to keep
Okay.
it.
Okay, so here we are. I know this report has looked different, different years, so I want to tell you a little bit about what tonight is going to look like. So we're going to go over the 3 through 8 results, which came a little late this year. Our test refusal totals, and actually I compare that to the state. Our Regents achievement, and our grade 4 versus Regents results. That's something I did last year, one for ELA and one for math, and I updated that again with this year's results, which is the 2017 through 18 school year. And then I updated about, I want to say 4 years ago, Dr. Rychek did, one slide, just regional comparison with a few points of data, and I updated that. Thought it was really interesting. And then it's just time for the summer school report. So we put it all together, and that obviously relates to our achievement and our interventions that we offer. Okay, so you will be seeing a lot more detail from the buildings, but this was an opportunity to give you the overview altogether. So what you see here is our testing results here. This is just Netherwood, 3 through 5, ELA and math, and it's showing, the 3 grade levels together. What happened this year is that New York State let us know this 2018 testing should not be compared with earlier years. There were a lot of changes in the exams. So in other years, you may have seen us comparing 2 or 3 years of data, and they've advised us not to do that. So people go back and they look and they do that, but they're saying that's really not a good idea because it's changed so much. So these are the results for Netherwood.
What is the percentage? Is that
Passing.
passing?
Yeah, percentage passing out of 100%. And you'll see later, I do the district average against the state by grade level. So I do this for each building, and I can always go back if you have questions. Okay, and this is North Park results. This is last spring, ELA and math on one slide for all 3 grade levels. Ralph R. Smith. And Violet Avenue. Okay, this is Haviland. ELA and Math. Okay. And these are our test refusal numbers. And I do that by building because they really vary. So this is Haviland with the most, 44% test refusals. So, you know, I bring this up, you just saw those results. 44% of students did not take those tests. And we don't have a way of knowing how they would have performed. What we've heard nationally is that generally opt-out, families who choose to opt out, those are students who have a higher rate of passing than students who don't opt out, and people have read a lot into that, but that's just that's our understanding. But we don't harass people to ask them or to follow that data and take guesses about how they would perform.
But the percent passing is based on who took it, not...
Only who took it.
Okay.
Right. Okay, Netherwood had 23% refused testing. North Park, 22. Ralph R. Smith, 31%. Violet, 11% opted out. And the statewide average is 18%. So I put that there so you can see that more than twice the number of opt-outs are at Haviland. So later when I compare to the statewide results, and the state outperformed us. You know, the average state did outperform us, and I just want you to, and we know we have work to do, and I'm not excusing it, but you need to see how many more opt-outs we have in most of our buildings to have a sense of, you know, what that may mean. It's certainly a factor. Okay, so here's where I'm going to compare to the state. All right, so this I did district-wide, I didn't do by building. So this is all of our third grade compared to the state. We're 12% lower in third grade, 15% lower in fourth grade, and 10% lower in fifth grade than the state average. In math, we were 16% lower in third grade, 18% lower in fourth grade, and 6% lower in fifth. And again, you'll see variations when you know, if you remember those elementary slides, sometimes fifth grade outperformed hugely in one building, third hugely outperformed in another building, so it's a little bit all over the place, but I at least wanted to compare the district as a whole. And then this is Haviland, 6th through 8 math, 10% lower in 6th, 13% lower in 7th. I'm sorry, this is... I'm talking about it, but here it is. 13% lower in 7th and 10% lower in 8th grade. That's Haviland ELA. Remember, 44% opt-out. And in math, 13% lower in 6th grade, 19% lower in 7th, and 15% lower in 8th. Okay, and I'm going to go into Regents. So this is geometry. So we changed the language. Instead of saying failed, we're saying not passed yet, because there are many opportunities to take the test again. And in fact, you know, you need to pass all 5 regions in almost every case in order to graduate. So this is just what the results were last year. So 80% passed geometry, 81% passed algebra 1, 95% passed algebra 2. And that I can explain in that not everyone takes Algebra 2. So we have strong math students enrolling in that program in the first place. So that might be part of the differential or the whole reason. ELA, 93% passed. Living environment, 82. Chemistry, 83. Oh,
Use the mouse.
I did something bad.
I think if you just use the mouse and X out of that, I don't know why it came up.
Should I say okay? No. Because it'll do some terrible shortcut. Take me away. Okay, earth science, 81%. Physics, 89%. U.S. history, 88%. Global 10, transition, 82%. And this is important because this got a lot harder. So we're proud of the work that the teachers have done here and that our students have done as well. Okay, so, well, this is a little early. Let me see. Not sure what happened here. Well, I'll go through these and then we'll go back to the comparison. So I wanted to revisit summer school for a moment. The high school does host the program that is the BOCES program. And I only did how many are our students. We have 192 students at FDR who were in the summer program, and other districts from around the county also attended at FDR. Haviland, this was the second year at Haviland, and we had 50 enrolled. I think we envisioned the program being about 50 to 60 students, so it was fully enrolled. Elementary had Summer Bridge again, and this was 4 weeks. Like always, 16 days, and we had 137 students, and this year Milano was there, and it was Milano's first after training coming into the building, and obviously it was amazing, and Milano continues to do most excellent work. And then extended school year for eligible students was at BOCES Salt Point this summer, and we had 56 students, which is not a drop in enrollment from previous years, which is good to know since it moved there. Okay, so here we are. So we'll end on this note. So I did this last year, and I just updated the data. So our overall fourth grade passing rate for ELA, and that's the average of all of our 4 buildings, was 32%. But in the Regents, it was 93. So just to look that the English Regents is making sure that you're prepared to enter college and career, and that your reading and writing skills are up to par to graduate from high school, and we're 93% there. And the fourth grade ELA is predicting the same thing at a fourth grade level. So it's just important to note that while we know that the work that we're doing should be reflected in the test scores, and we'll keep working on that, and you'll hear, again, a lot more, not just from buildings, but from me when I talk about the learning standards and how that's changing instruction in other reports. You'll hear a lot more about what we're doing. But I think it's just important to note that our students do graduate ready, and this is a measure that, again, we don't have all students tested.
You can't opt out of the English Regents, or you can't get a high school diploma. So.
You can't opt out of the English Regents, or any of the Regents to graduate. So, yeah, we have no opt-out in Regents.
So you compared that 32% with the state. Is there a comparison of the 93% with the state?
Oh, I haven't done that, but I know that, and I'll ask Rick Party. I didn't want to go too much, and I didn't talk about graduation rate because his report, he goes into a lot more depth with that, and also all of the college course credits that kids get. You know, last year we had a bit of a duplication in reports, and I don't want to take his fire this year and talk about all of the programs they offer, but that would be good to note. It's hard to imagine that we're not close to the top with scores like that, but we'll look at that. And this is math. Fourth grade math average was 30% for all the elementaries together, and then we had an 81% pass rate in Algebra 1, which is, again, the test that every student takes. Some students move on to take more challenging math courses. And here's the regional comparison data that Dr. Rychek did, and I just updated it with last year's data. So what we have, I mean, it'll be posted. It's posted now, actually, on Board Docs, this whole report. But I just wanted to highlight. Whoops. All right. Sorry, it's out of order. Here we go. Okay. So what we noticed is that when we're compared to these other districts, and they're not all in the county, we have Beacon, Dover, Ellenville, Hyde Park, Ossining, Pine Bush, Saugerties, and Tarrytown. So I just used the same ones, and we just got updated data. So what you see is that we're, at least in here, we're close to the top for ELA, so that answers that question just for this group, this grouping. And we're really middle of the pack for graduation rate and number of students with disabilities, or the percentage of students with disabilities, and also free and reduced lunch for these schools in the region. So if you follow our little dot sort of toward the middle, you can see.
What criteria got a school on this list?
I'll have to ask
This-
Greer, because
yeah.
I just followed up.
This actually is a combination of just trying to work within certain parameters of the size of the district. So we went all the way out to a school district that was 5,000 Pine Bush at the time. I don't know if, oh, you did update the numbers, the enrollment. So we looked at what are considered not small schools, but medium schools in the 2,000 to 5,000 range, versus, going all the way up to 8,000 students or down to, 900 to 1,200. We wanted to find schools that were within some range of poverty rate, free and reduced lunch rates, so we didn't put in schools that have, a 5% poverty rate. And it was a long time ago, some of these schools were actually used for a dissertation for comparative purposes, where I created ranges to find some like schools. So the origin of this slide was the board asking on several occasions, how are other school districts doing? And yeah, we get it, and how are we faring in comparison with some schools that we could find some parameters to group ourselves with. So we didn't want to group ourselves with places that had, 5% poverty, because that's not apples to apples. So the whole thing isn't apples to apples, but we wanted to find schools that had at least a certain level of similarity to ours. So it's not everything, but the most telling line is like the students with free and reduced lunch. So on the poverty line, free and reduced is the blue?
Yeah, blue squares.
Right. So Ellenville's a little bit of an outlier there, but we're all within that 40 to 70 range.
I think we're 49 overall.
The students with disability, if you look at that, it's in the, 10 to 20 range. So we certainly didn't want to compare ourselves with school districts that have 5% students with disability, 5% poverty rate. And the request from the board was, how do we compare to some of the schools in the area that have some similarity to? So it's not a science, it's a little bit random, but some parameters were put around it a number of years ago. But it was a specific request from the board to say, in our area, how do we look compared to some of the other schools?
Yeah, and the reason it's 16, 17 is because the school report card is behind, and we couldn't get everyone else's data to be solid from 17, 18.
So, would it be more valuable to look at, like, the whole picture, to see what are the factors that are causing some schools to be, like, to me, size doesn't matter, right? From, if it's 8,000 or 500, it matters the student-teacher ratio, right? So, right, so looking at the whole spectrum of schools and say, wow, these schools are at the top. What attributes do those schools have that we don't? Is it student-teacher ratio? Is it the poverty level? I mean, are there any things in those top-performing schools that are in our control? That's the valuable data, right?
Right.
Other than this, there's nothing to glean out of this other than, okay,
Right. The board had asked several times to see how some of the schools in the region were doing, so we finally showed some of the schools in the region. You can do this simply for Dutchess County. You could say, how do we fare in Dutchess County? So the question at the time was, let us at least see how some of the other schools that might have similar poverty and similar students with disability. So when our data goes into the system and we get a measurement, especially if they ever move to teacher evaluation through scores, which, that's a whole other, there are equations built in for the number of students with disabilities and the poverty rate. So You're right, the size probably,
Right, well, those are
Yeah.
things you can't control.
Right.
I mean, but out of all the metrics of the top-performing schools, you know, there may be some things that we can control. Like, if it is student-to-teacher ratio, maybe that's something we could look at, and maybe we have to, you know, have a better ratio. If that's pointing to top-performing schools, something we can control.
Right.
We can't control poverty, we can't control the number of
right.
students with disabilities, right? But I would hope
Right.
there's something in there that we can control,
Yeah.
otherwise it's.
Right.
And
nothing
there's-
we can do.
Absolutely, and a study could be put, you could take top-performing schools and do that. At the time, it was, the specific question on the table was, how are other schools doing that are closer to our profile in the area versus, okay, we can look at Spackenkill and Rhinebeck, but that wasn't the request at the time. But absolutely, you could take top-performing schools and then come up with a matrix of what are some of the things we want to look at, student-teacher ratio,
Whatever's in our control.
And I'll say too
cost
that,
of professional development, you know.
yeah, there's a lot, I mean, a lot of educational research is based on exactly that. Like, what are the factors that make the biggest difference? And the one that comes to mind that we've done a lot of work with is John Hattie's research. It's meta-analysis of all of the big research studies all in one, and he does this thing about effect size. So you get to see like a year's growth in a year, and what kinds of things can double that. And so it's things, some of them are surprising, like, do teachers believe that they have a great school and that they're making a difference for students? Huge effect size. So that's a climate morale issue that ends up really impacting the bottom line of achievement. Teachers giving specific feedback to students about their learning. Huge effect size, way more than a year's growth in a year. So we have that information that impacts our professional development. So, you know, we could do more just looking at local schools or what other schools do. There was something called the 90-90-90 research that became later the 100-100-100 research. So it was districts with 100% poverty, 100%, I guess it was minority, and 100% passing all the state tests. But that was a national study, and what did they do? And so we took that into our professional development as well, and it was a lot of the things that we're doing. The way we do Writers and Readers Workshop was based on that. You know, so a lot of our decisions are based on that research in the field to say, these are the things that should get those outcomes. So we continue to work on that. But part of this is getting a sense of, well, how's everyone else doing who has something in common with us around here? And then how do we do compared to the state? Because it gives us something besides, are we making growth on our own way, which this year we can't say with the statewide test because the test changed. So I needed to compare to something. So, and I think that the statewide, when you look at the opt-out with the statewide, it just tells us we have work to do. I don't think it tells us that we're below average.
Right. I mean, all you can glean from this side really, you know, as far as some outliers is if you look at Ellenville, you know, they're on the high side of students with disabilities. They were the highest in free and reduced lunch, yet they had the lowest in the ELA, and their graduation rate was kind of down. So, yeah, it was just to finally put some paint on the wall of what do we look like with some of our surrounding schools that within a range.
I remember we had asked for that, to be, to look like our school district, because you do see trends with free and reduced lunches scoring lower. So we wanted to look, let's compare, how are we doing in general, and then we can look at it.
Right, I think that's good, but to me, out of this, there's no actionable item. It just says,
No.
okay,
Right.
we're not a anomaly, right? It's kind of in
Right.
line.
I think that's important for us to know.
The next step really.
Also.
Right. The next step really is to look at the wider set of data to see what is actionable.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And this is a reminder that this is sort of the segue into the reports that are to come about the work that we're doing actually to close those gaps. So this is what critical thinkers do. And it's actually some of what we're doing tonight. collecting, assessing, analyzing relevant information, you're reasoning effectively, using systems thinking, making sound judgments and decisions based on that, identify, define, and solve authentic problems and essential questions, and rely critically on learning experiences, processes, and solutions. So I know that I engage in all of these activities around this assessment work. And thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions?
I just wanted to do, I just wanted to make two more comments, if you could go back to the opt-out slide.
I just want to thank Josephine Perino for making this look cool.
Too closely, we'll get dizzy.
I don't want to skip it after all this.
Yeah, right.
Here we
Well,
go.
we could go to the slide sorter, but that would take, oh, I don't know if we can, and when it's loaded into board docs. Okay, so just a couple things on that opt-out rate that, as a community, we're going to need to look at later on in the year. Aviva will do a presentation about ESSA, and that's the Every School Succeeds Act. And that does replace the No Child Left Behind Act. That is the national regulations. And in ESSA, and we won't go into it tonight, but in ESSA, the repercussions of low participation are written in. So if you have opt-out rates such as we have here, we're pretty confident that if they stay at that level, we will be required to write improvement plans for participation. And without making any commentary, or trying to refrain from commentary, those plans are generally extraordinarily time-consuming and detract from other work. So it's just, we're not 100% sure when this goes into effect in the year next year, what it will mean for Hyde Park, but just a heads up, it could mean that we have to, we're doing a lot of really great things here, and that means, you know, we need to spend time putting together this plan. So Aviva will talk about that later in the year. The other thing that again, the only rating for a school district that the real estate market uses is test scores. And like it or not, if I were a homeowner, you know, I'd be concerned. And you just need to go to Zillow to see what the current status is, because it's all based on that. And it's just a fact. So I'm not commenting on it, and I'm not commenting on the movement. But those are realities that we are currently dealing with the opt-out. That's it.
So I have one question, Aviva. Universal pre-K, we'll start seeing those next year? So that would be 3 years?
I did a report in May, and I'm planning to do one in December. And it's really just, like, it depends on what you want to see, because we use the Fountas and Pinnell reading. Oh, no, I'm sorry, we use maps for that. And we can't do a revised slide until next May after they complete the maps. So I can redo the same report that I did in May. We had scheduled that for December.
Yeah, but I'm just saying it's been 4 years. Is universal pre-K is 4 years old now, 3 years?
It's the fourth year.
Fourth year.
And they are, I mean, after all those years, that's what the report that I did in May said, is they were a half a year ahead in ELA and math of
So
the
next-
overall group.
Not next year's report, the report after, we should be seeing that, because this is
Right.
actually last
They'll
year's.
be in there in third grade.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And we have 147 students enrolled in UPK. So they're in there.
Has there been any modeling, if we had an 18% refusal rate, what our pass, did we kind of,
I mean,
the number just statistically?
yeah, I don't know that, how valid that would be. I mean, what I've read is that many of the parents who opt out are parents of students who are high achievers or higher achieving. But again, that's not.
One of the things we're going to add to our building reports, and again, it may not quite be apples to apples, but we do the MAPS assessment, and because we have to submit the results on our MAPS assessments to state ed, because they need some measurement for our student learning objectives, and all the students, for the most part, take the MAPS assessment. When we go to the buildings, you'll actually see for grades 3, 4, and 5, whether according to the MAPS assessment, now it's a different assessment than the state ed, whether we were rated effective, ineffective developing, effective, or
Highly effective.
Highly effective.
For growth.
Yeah, and none of our schools were, in any grade, were ineffective. So it's the only glimpse. It's not an exact comparison. We're not even privy to the calculation that's used to take the MAP score by SED to turn into that rating of effective, ineffective, developing, highly effective. But it is one glimpse. And I know last year it was asked specifically, do we have any other measurement where all the students sit for that measurement, and what is that telling us? So when we go to the buildings, you'll see exactly what Aviva showed, grades 3, 4, and 5 performance, and that's what the kids, that's only the kids who took it. And then we'll be able to see on the other assessment that we use, that the majority of the students sit for, whether or not, if that had been the state test. And they're trying to be mirrors and predictors of each other, so it's not too far off, but, so you'll get a glimpse of that.
I just have one comment on the bars on the individual schools. I would prefer that the scale be the same for each. So in one case, 59% is this long, and another case, 37% is this long. So, in not these, the individual schools.
Elementary.
Okay,
Well, in the middle school as well.
Okay.
okay.
It just visually, I guess I'm a visual learner, I don't know, it just,
Sorry, it was before this then. I just want to see so I know for next year.
right, see, 33% of that on the previous slide was way out there, but 35% on the other one is in the
They're
middle.
being compared to each other,
Yeah,
but
I
you
would
want
like
it to
to
be a uniform.
Yeah, but I would like to see from 0
Out
to
of
100.
100%.
0 to 100 and is a slide, and
Okay.
that's my preference. I don't take it from me. It just visually, okay, wow, 39% is way over there.
Right, it was just
Good.
filling up, being visually pleasing and only comparing to themselves, but no, I hear you.
Any other questions?
Just, are you getting a general reason for the opt-outs? Is it because they can, or?
The opt-out movement in New York was a lot stronger than some other states, and I'm not the first person to comment that the rollout from the state ed department and the combining it with, at that time, with Race to the Top and tying the test scores to teacher evaluation, the whole way that the tests changed before people had a chance to unpack the standards and to do any professional development. So the whole way that that rolled out was highly upsetting and offensive to a lot of people, to teachers, administrators, and to the public. So I think it's pretty clear to see that New York State had a big role, state ed, and they're all new people there, but there were people there at the time, and the way that that rolled out was a big part of the New York State movement. And they've been pretty responsive and have changed a lot of things about the tests. I mean, there was the moratorium, so they're not counting toward teacher evaluation for the last couple of years. They now are untimed. They're shorter. Teachers are actually writing the questions. It used to be some, unknown vendor or known vendor, but not that we didn't know a lot about the vendor. So they've changed all those things, and there's still higher, high opt-out rates. So that part, and again, it's higher in some parts of the state than others. So, I'm not sure. I think people have reasons for distrusting tests in general, or just sort of an anti-standardization movement, like more of a feeling of this should be individual. We trust the teachers. They should be assessing kids. We don't. We think these scores are being made too important. So I think that they're really educated decisions that people are making for reasons, that I don't think it's just a pushback. And I think for the most part, it looks like kids who are opting out because they've discussed it as a family. So it's not easy. So if we get to a place of needing to write an improvement plan, it's going to be hard because people are making a decision. And and we can give more information for people to make an informed decision, but ultimately, right now, it is their right to make.
Has there ever been any consideration of anonymizing the test?
Oh, like not connected to students? You would just get a building?
You have people take them, but then you don't, this way, why would a parent say no?
Yeah. I mean, what it's supposed to be is a measure of student learning toward the end of the year that gives us really good information for making instructional decisions. And so you want to know that somebody really performed badly, and you get all this data about what kinds of questions are hard for that student, and it's supposed to be all of that. But we have other assessments that we use that you can use in real time. They took these tests last spring. We just got permission to look at them. And then the questions get released later. So, you're halfway through the next year. So I think that's also part of the challenge, is that it's supposed to help teachers, but I don't know how much help it is.
Okay, thank you, Avia.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So can I have a motion for 8.1, open public participation?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Okay, motion passed. If anybody would like to address the board, you're please free to go to the podium. Seeing no public participation is now closed. On to 9.1, board subcommittee reports. Does anyone have any subcommittee reports?
I don't necessarily have a report, but just to say that we have Dutchess County School Board Association meeting is the first Thursday of the month, and all are welcome to attend there at the BOCES Administrative Office at 7 p.m. Late refreshments, candy and water are served.
The policy committee had a very productive meeting. We went through quite a number of policies, the update, and we were there, almost 2.5 hours, but we got a lot done, so that was a good thing. And I think some of them on this agenda, right? Yeah, okay.
No more reports? So we're on to 9.2, board goals. Do we have that up on the screen?
I can put it up on the screen. I do have it. Hang on. Okay.
Okay. For academics, let's go through them again. Receive semi-annual updates on progress of integrating New York State's learning standards into instructional practices. Number 2, receive a comprehensive report of what standardized tests are being given in all of our schools. Did we say we're going to keep that in, or did Aviva say you were just going to give us that in another report?
I can give it another report, or we can have that in school reports.
I think it would be better if we have it
Yeah.
as one general, and we see all
Yep.
schools at one time. So we'll keep that in. I just take out the now, so. Okay, number 3, receive an update on status coherency planning initiative as they occur. Receive a review of recent changes to the number of days of testing required by the state. Review of all steps the state has made to address parents' concerns with the intent to increase participation by the Hyde Park Central School District students and potential penalties for low participation. Receive a report from the high school administration on the elements that contribute to maintaining or increasing the full-year cohort graduation rate as expressed by the New York State School Report Card, and update us on that rate as compared to 17-18 school year. Any concerns with that section?
I had a question on number 5, participation of what?
Okay, I think that's in standardized testing.
Standardized testing. yeah.
So we just put in standardized test.
Sure, right, I think.
And number 5, just for after low participation in standardized tests. Okay, on to board administrative operations. Number 1, conduct a board retreat on diversity and equity with the all admin group. Number 2, Board of Ed members will attend at least one professional development training, webinar, or other training this school year. Any concerns on that? Okay, on to budget and administration. Number 1, support a budget that maintains as many programs as possible given the tax cap. Number 2, verify that any spending reductions are distributed with equity. Number 3, ensure spending is based on actual projected spendings, not rollover numbers. Any issues on that?
When does the state requirement to break down those spending numbers by
By schools.
school building come in?
Next year.
2020.
For us next year.
All
Yeah,
right,
so
so-
the 2019-20 budget will have a lot more account codes in it.
All right, so it wouldn't make sense this year because it'd be all extra work for you. Be practice for next year, but,
Well, we'll be working on it this year for next year's budget, yes.
all right.
Are you saying you would like to see that report by the end of the year? Yeah.
I'm not trying to burden, I was just curious as to whether was it something that the state was going to ask for this year that we weren't reporting on, or is it just something
For
that,
for the transparency requirements?
Yeah.
That'll be part of our 2019-20 budget.
Right.
So when we work on the budget this school year for next year, we'll have more account codes. So that will be
so
broken down.
as
how we're
we,
doing
at the end of this year, next year, when we're not, at that, around the May, June frame, or April, May, June frame, when we're preparing the budget for the following year, you'll have put some of the thinking into that and making sure that
Yeah.
so maybe we can get as the budget reports are presented, maybe highlight
Okay.
if there is any significant changes in this coming budget as to previous budgets because of this requirement.
Okay, any other issues with that section? Okay, community. Each board member will attend one community event as their schedule permits.
I was there last night.
Done.
I'm done.
Carrie's done, Carl's done, Dan.
I'm going to double it at least.
Okay.
For the jazz
No
concert.
bonus for doing more, so.
Okay, section facilities. Receive a presentation from the energy educator, which will include a year-to-year comparisons of use and cost, include any reference to capital projects that have enhanced energy use and how they correlate to energy consumption/savings. Was there a quantifiable change in fuel consumption per degree days?
Okay, I have a question on that. That sentence is in
Yes.
that one and is also in number 4, specifically for FDR. Will we find out for FDR in the report we are asking for in 1? And if so, should we take the one in 4 out, I guess? I mean,
Take it out.
is Jill going to give us a overall energy consumption without specific buildings? If that's the case, then that's okay. And then if we were asking specifically for FDR in number 4, then I guess you can leave that too. But I just wanted to clarify what these two mean.
I thought we were talking about in number 1, we were wanting to hear stuff about Haviland in there.
Well, I think, so that if we simply could add that in number 1, that report, the quantifiable information be provided on a per building basis, that would certainly eliminate the need to have it in number 4. Because you'd have the FDR information then.
Well, number 4 is specifically about FDR. I mean,
Right.
and so,
I mean, I'm thinking
And if you
that,
put in 1, all schools, then you can eliminate.
You can eliminate that second bullet.
all school by schools.
But I think it would, the thing I was thinking about is we did a specific and rather well-defined change in Haviland for 1 year. And we had, I'm not sure, we spent a lot of money with part of the capital improvement plan. It's recommended to us, it's an opportunity just to validate in 2 ways what effect that capital improvement had on one building. And we had discussed, I think you were the one that even mentioned the fact that, not in direct degree days, but the one thing it was also asked, looking to resolve or identify was the fact that, inequities within adjacent classrooms. Because we had maybe one thermostat covering 4 classrooms, or 3 classrooms, now we got 1 for each. And some classrooms had filed, reports saying, hey, my classroom's too cold, my classroom's too cold. Have those types of reports just, significantly decreased now that we put the controls in, because we said that would be an outcome of the controls being put in.
I think we should probably just leave it as by school, because if we get things through
same
with
thing
North
as-
Park, we may have some changes that in the mid-year we'll see something.
well, the 2 major things were
Yeah.
Haviland and FDR, so.
Yeah, I think we should
If you're
just
going
put
to
it
do
by
FDR, you got to
school.
do Haviland as well, but.
Yeah.
The goal.
If he doesn't do it, we'll be asking questions, did this have anything to do with?
Yeah.
Warning.
But it's interesting, the goal is basically, we want to see a presentation about energy year to year, right?
Yep.
What goes in that presentation, shouldn't be limited to these 2 board goals. It should be an extensive presentation about energy usage, including capital projects, what effect capital projects have, year-to-year cost, et cetera, et cetera.
True.
I don't know if we want to limit it to these 2 goals. It could be 100 things that we want to see in this presentation, but we're not going to list them as goals.
Right.
We just want to see an energy presentation, that's our goal. We're going to be able to review the overall thing. And what we see in there should be a comprehensive view of energy consumption.
So you're saying take the line out and just trust that that's what we'll get?
I think not trust, we should say, we want a comprehensive view of every aspect of energy consumption. And if we get something as a draft and it doesn't include something.
So we'll just change, receive a comprehensive presentation and leave it, and take the line out.
Comparisons of use and cost.
of the question.
So we'll change to receive a comprehensive presentation and then remove that line.
I think it simplifies the goal.
Yep.
There's actually two different things going on here. One is energy consumption overall, whatever. The other is, did the capital project improve those? In this one, it says FDR, but it really should be FDR and Haviland. But, so I see those actually as either 4 is not needed and it should be subsumed into the instructions we give Jill to get, when we get the report.
That is my impression.
Yeah.
Right. 4 could be part of 1, right? I mean, we need an overall, all schools, including capital projects.
So we're going to remove 4 with instructions to Jill to include in 1. Number 2, receive an F&O journal entry once a month, giving a snapshot of what projects are being done or need to be done. Number 3, receive a presentation that includes the detail of a preventative maintenance plan for equipment, update on BCS work progress using drip and cap, what products may carry over. To mean carry over to next year? Yeah.
Yeah, I think the idea is what projects were identified, in my mind, is what projects were in the building condition survey that are not being addressed in current programs.
Okay. So any other?
Should we, I want to throw this out there, but should we, in the facility section, include something related to mold, to say that we are going to ask for periodic mold inspections by a certified mold person, or something, I don't know. Do you think that would be worthwhile to put that as a goal, to show the public that we're staying on top of this issue?
Isn't that part of preventative maintenance?
Yeah.
Well, that's, yeah, right, I mean, it does fall into that, but should we specifically bulletize it?
Well, you know, in your next, at the next board presentation, you're going to receive the plan that was requested, at least for North Park, about the, remember we said we would put together a plan on how do we avoid getting into the situation we were in. So it is North Park specific. I just want to let you know that's coming. I don't know if you wanted something more district-wide than that, or it could be incorporated into preventative maintenance.
Right.
I know, you know.
Right, I know we're doing stuff, and I'm not saying we have to put it, but I'm just asking the question, do you think it would be...
As in a bullet?
To specifically point that out, since it has been such a hot topic for us lately. I mean, would it, I know we're doing this stuff, but would it benefit us to have a specific bullet? Not saying we have to, I'm just asking the question.
I mean, I think it would look good to the public, yes. But how would we do that? What kind of report would we even?
I don't remember what was in that preventative.
Yeah, it was just a, you're going to see it next time. I think that there was a request, and rightly so, for some detailed plan as to how we could avoid being in the situation we were, especially in that particular school. And I think once you see that, you know.
Yeah, I mean, that may be the thing, is to review that plan,
right.
or accept or approve, or, I don't know. Review
I think as a published goal,
I wouldn't, personally, I wouldn't
specify mold.
specify mold, but
I just,
Okay.
consider it a hot topic.
Right, yeah.
is this like...
And it will be on as an agenda item
Wanna put a slash
on the
in
next board meeting. We just finalized it.
Okay, so number 4 is removed. Any other concerns with facilities? Nope. Policy. Number 1, keep up with the flow of incoming policies from NISBA. Number 2, review policies that require annual review. Number 3, receive policies that have not been, review policies that have not been updated in 5 or more years.
Good.
Good?
Yep.
Okay, so next board meeting, we will not review all of these. And we'll just concentrate on, just the final review would be the technology and approve the goals.
I hate to go backwards, but, and again, you know, like, well, Mike, you guys are setting your goals, but on facilities, you're going to get a very important report at the end of the year on our enrollment and capacity. And I don't know if you wanted to just, again, you don't have to, you're going to do the work anyway, but once you get that report, you're going to need to determine the course of action for the following year based on your findings, whether it's set a committee or just continue to monitor. It is related to facilities, but, and it doesn't have to be a goal, but I mean, that's one of those things, we're going to do it anyway, you may not need it as a goal, but
Yeah, I guess my point with that would be, I think that we need to react once we get the report and we see what the report is telling us.
it might be the next year goal, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I think.
So, I'm thinking, it's a little presumptuous to think that there's any action that will be needed to be
Yeah,
taken.
and you may not, you may decide to take no action. Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
right.
Okay, that's it,
So-
yep.
Yep.
So Patrick, we hadn't heard you. Do you have any issues with any of the goals? Okay. So on to technology. So received 2 reports on how new technology has been integrated into instructional practice, one in January, one in June. Receive an evaluation of the integration of technology in the classrooms, how many teachers are using tech versus no tech, how is technology being used for critical thinking, what is the support structure and how we are monitoring this, how are we helping those who might struggle with the technology approach. I thought we were going to get something from Rick on this, but some feedback.
Yeah, no, I think he was waiting for you guys to narrow down.
Narrow it down?
Honestly, receive 2 reports, it's a goal. And it's your goal, the board goal. I would think receive 2 reports on how technology is integrated into instructional practice, and then maybe we can give number 2 as guiding questions to Rick. These are some of the items the board's interested, but number 2 isn't a goal. This is a punch list.
Again,
Yeah.
we're asking for a report, 2 is parts of the report.
Right. I mean, before it gets completely erased, I think there's some good thinking there, and, let the director,
Kind of like how we have our comprehensive facilities,
right.
that we just give direction, we want to see this. So if we combine the 2, receiving the 2 have been integrated into instructional practice, that's already there. So we cross that section out and tell Rick we want to see this in that presentation.
Yeah, these are the
Right.
types of things you're looking at.
Oh. Okay.
And when we find good things, right, just out of curiosity, like, like that one person that came here and showed how she's using the technology, are those highlighted to the rest of the district, or let's just say, hey, this is pretty cool, you guys should maybe emulate something like that, we do that kind of
Yeah,
thing?
yeah, yeah.
Technology, teacher technology in the spotlight each month or something to show.
Number 1,
Yeah.
2, 3.
Yeah, there's
This is crossed out.
there are multiple ways where that's
Yeah,
done.
well, this will change to a report.
Teacher-led PD sessions, so teachers are running professional development sessions for other teachers. Best practices are highlighted at some of the faculty meetings. The tech integrator, that's the person who works in the classrooms, they do a lot of connecting the dots between teachers, so. I saw, it's funny because you can't listen to this and then not notice when you walk in the classroom, so your antenna is up, and it's just really interesting to just think about this and walk into a kindergarten class where the interactive whiteboard is being used, and then, other classrooms you're wondering, okay, I don't see it in use now, but is it in use at other times, so.
So, and how technology being received, used from a student's parent's point of view, isn't that also then included in the integrated?
In the report.
Into that report?
Rick's already talking after hearing the conversation last week about a quick survey, students, staff, parents.
So we'll include that also into that report. Then receive a report on tech bond money spending.
Are we still spending, or is it done?
We haven't gotten any money.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's there. I think just that is receive a report on the status of the Smart Bond
Yes.
initiative. Because we're,
Do you want me to say anything?
Mark?
yeah, go ahead, just
Well, yeah,
put it right out there.
Yeah, we were approved for part of the project. We spent the money last year, but we haven't received any of the aid back. And then we also have a new application in that hasn't been approved yet. But then in the meantime, they denied the first application that had been approved after we spent the money because it had taken so long for them to approve it originally that prices increased. Rick had to resubmit the application with the increased prices, and now we're just waiting for the approval.
It's insanity. And I'd like to know where the interest money is going on these millions of dollars. How much did we get?
In total, 2.6.
2.6
Yeah,
million.
we spent over-
Just for this district. There's 700 districts in New York State, and all this Smart Bond money has been sitting there now for 3 or 4 years?
I'm not, at least 3, yeah.
It's getting
Is
interest.
the money sitting there?
For
They're
the
still trying to
state.
figure out where they're going to get it from.
And we used,
Supposedly it was there, so.
So in
we used
theory-
general fund money to, because we had to
Right.
we have to pay it first before we get
Well, in
reimbursed.
theory, they could decline this, and we now are stuck with the bill.
Technically, in theory, and
We still have, when we log into the portal, we still see where they approved it originally. It's just not broken down in the detail. So it tells us how much they've approved, but they're not paying us because they haven't approved the detail of what we spend.
it's horrifically frustrating.
Okay, anything else on this area? So we'll review this and approve next board meeting. And we'll be done with our favorite time of the year. Okay, on to 10, consent agenda. Can I have a motion for the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. On to new business. 11.1, special education placements. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
I've reviewed the packet and recommend its adoption as presented.
Any other discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Can I have a motion for 11.2, terms and conditions, Elliott Sheldon?
So move.
Second.
Any discussion?
Only to say that I will abstain from the vote.
All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 6-4, 1 abstention. Can I have a motion for 11.3, first consideration for policy updates?
So move.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Can I have a motion for 11.4, health and welfare services rate?
So move.
Second.
Any discussion?
I have a question. Probably should have asked of you, I guess. I don't know who.
Me.
The number, you?
Yeah.
How do you come up with these numbers, like speech teachers, 600,000?
So in the calculation, we total our costs for anyone that may provide health services, including
Okay.
the,
It's not,
yeah, that's total salaries.
I mean, like psychologists, 606,000. We're not spending 600,000 on our own psychologists, are we?
That's our total cost for
Or
the psychologist.
how many people?
I don't know, I'd have to go back and look, but it includes all the benefits, too.
But when I see this, we only have one school psychologist, don't we?
No, we have, I believe it's 6.
No? Do we have more than one?
We have 6.
6.
Ah,
Yeah, and I'm sorry, so that's the salary part, at the bottom of the page is where we
Okay,
calculate the
okay.
benefits. So we calculate the
was-
total cost for the district. and,
Okay.
We come up with the rate by dividing it by the number of students that we have in district and at St. Peter's, because we provide health services to St. Peter's.
and
And
obviously.
the amount per student is what we charge other school districts that have children at St. Peter's.
And school nurses?
Mm-hmm.
And clerical nursing staff? We actually spend that much money? I guess I'm out of touch here. I didn't think, we have 6 nurses and 1 part-time?
8.5.
8.5.
8.5,
Six.
well, even 8.5.
There's
Yeah,
2
okay,
nurses at the high
8.5.
school,
Average is,
1.5 nurses at the middle school, and a
Okay.
full-time nurse at St. Peter's.
And a floater.
okay.
And a floater, sorry,
All right,
9.5 nurses.
Off the top of my head, they concerned me, so I'm
About
fine.
50.
Thank you.
Then you'll see, throughout the year, you'll see contracts with rates from other school districts that you'll approve, and those would be the rates that we pay other school districts when we have children in private schools in their school districts.
Do we ever get a report listing all of the requests from other districts so we can see what kind of a range we're talking about? How much we charge other schools and how much they charge other districts?
I could provide that information. It's easy. When we get the contracts from the other schools, we ask the board to approve the contract,
Yeah.
but we haven't ever presented it comparing each school.
You know, it might be a flag somewhere that somebody's overcharging us.
But we also charge.
Yeah, I review that. And they sent this printout that you see here, when we get billed by another school district, they provide that to us, and we review it.
Oh, the names.
Any other discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Can I have a motion for 11.5, group life insurance renewal, J.J. Stannis and Company, Inc.?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Just one question. It looked like a fairly substantial increase. Do we know what the overall impact of this is going to be? The rate?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I could talk to the Human Resources Department.
Just be interested to know what, just trying to keep an eye on cost.
Any other discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. I have a motion for 11.6, lease with Abilities First at Violet Avenue.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Can I have a motion for 11.7, overnight field trip, National Honor Choir?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Looking at it, I'm guessing that the whole county area, something like that, has pooled the bus to transport the parents, because we're not asking for a bus from our school district to go down to Florida. And
They're flying. It's one student.
one
We've
student...
never had this before. The student and the teacher are flying. We've
Yeah,
never had a student advance
It's just a
to this
huge
level.
honor, like you can't really plan for it.
Yeah.
So and the one teacher is going to be the chaperone and the teacher.
Do we pay for this?
Yeah.
Yep.
I guess my hearing is not like a, did they say they're flying?
They're flying.
And who's paying?
We are.
We are.
We are, okay.
One student, the teacher is the chaperone.
Yeah, the reason I asked was in case the student wasn't able to afford a flight. I wanted to know who was going to pay. Okay. Thank
Yeah,
you.
we made sure this was in alignment with our natural progression of competition because, you know, and this is an important distinction because, you know, an individual student or family could choose to enter into a competition. Well, fine, you know, that's great, you're moving along, but this was the first time we encountered where it came out of school-sanctioned competition. It was like, wow, okay, what do we do now? You made it.
So that's why the form gives round-trip mileage of 2,372 miles?
I suppose so.
Because we don't have anything in the form that talks about flying?
Flying, probably not.
Not for field trips, usually.
I had a very interesting phone call from George when this came to Grass's desk.
George going to go down and
He
inspect the
said, I don't
plane?
want to sign this without Greer knowing about it first. She already knew about it, right?
I mean, George inspects all the buses we put our kids on. Is he going to go and check out the plane?
Like the magic school bus flies.
And from a budgetary, it's all legit to pay for this and everything?
Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Can I have a motion for 11.8, overnight field trip, New York State Theater Educators Associated Workshop?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Can I have a motion to rescind, 11.9, to rescind vendor agreement with Beatrice
BDES.
Vides?
So moved.
For a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Can I have a motion for 11.10 with the vendor agreement, trauma counseling?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries. At this time, could I have a motion to open public participation?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Roger, Steve, want to address the board? Okay, public participation is now closed. No other matters deemed before the board.
I did have something I wanted to ask. Didn't we change, we used to have like Pat was our athletic trainer, and didn't we contract to some company to do this? Do we know how that's going, and can we get like maybe a readout as to, is it positive?
Oh, absolutely, yeah, yep.
I know that was a fairly significant change in a cost for us, right?
We could say everybody knows Amanda.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to hear.
It would, yeah, yeah. And a pleasure to give. We've, yeah.
Okay, there's,
That's done, but, you know, she's been a pleasure to work with, that's for sure.
okay, there's no need for clerk or temp or another executive session. Can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? This meeting is now adjourned.